Duvall, and I'm delighted to have you join me for our home video holiday crafts. Holidays from around to December. You know, these home videos are kind of nice because it gives me an opportunity to go through each project step by step by step, and it gives you an opportunity to go back and repeat and replay and fast forward and do whatever suits you. I hope you'll enjoy them as much as I have. Get your paper and pencil ready, and let's start. Coming up right now, one of my all-time favorite holiday crafts. I say that a lot, but I really do enjoy this one, and I think you will too. I call them our push and poke ornaments and related Christmas decorations. To make the ornaments, you will need a styrofoam ball, 2.5 or 3-inch size, cotton fabric, a round toothpick, gold cord for hanging, scissors, and glue. I really mean that these are among my favorite ornaments to make. They're just so easy and great television watching project because it's totally mindless work and you make really pretty ornaments. At least I think these are anyway. And there's no mess, no gluing, no sewing, no waiting for paint to dry, so the kids can make these too. And what you'll need, as we mentioned, of course, is a styrofoam ball. You can make any size. I rather like the 2.5-inch size ball. And lots of wonderful, brightly colored holiday fabric. Solid colors are great, but then you can use prints too. And you will need like 1,000,000 little 1-inch squares pieces of fabric. Well, close to it anyway. Now, don't be compulsive about measuring, for goodness sakes, no. Just cut strips that are, you know, about 1 inch wide. And then after you have cut a bunch of these, then cut them in the opposite direction so that you really are doing a whole bunch of them at a time, all right? Then what you will need is, as I say, your foam ball and a round toothpick. But before we start putting things together, put the hanging cord in. So many times I have forgotten this. So I'll break off the end of the toothpick just enough to make a hole. You can use any kind of a gold cord. Pull the ends together, knot it, and this is the only glue that you're going to need. And that is simply to drop in that hole to put the hanging cord in, just a little spot of it. And you can push that in with your toothpick too. And if you want to add a pin, you can, but I really don't think that it's necessary. Okay, in you go, and stay there, and you're ready to start. Now, the little squares. We're using the broken end of the toothpick. If you use the sharp end, it's going to go right through the fabric. So be sure you do break it off, and remember, it's a round toothpick. Place it on the foam ball and poke. It is mindless, I told you. That's all you do. Poke. My 7-year-old grandson made some of these for his teachers for Christmas presents, which I thought was a neat idea. Now, this is really a good take-along craft, too. Do you realize how many of these you could put in a little plastic sandwich bag along with your toothpick? I mean, everything. So when you're, you know, waiting in the doctor's office, the dentist's office, anytime, just make these little punch and poke, and that's it. Just keep going. Now, I started one in the red, and every once in a while I'd put in a little green one like that. Here's one I did in white. This is one with the white sheet, really, and put little red and green. I call that one confetti. This one was made with a red print, this with the little green and white check, this one with another print. Well, you get the idea. You can just keep right on going. And then got a little more carried away and made some other things with the same technique. This time I thought I'd try felt and see if it worked. Yes, it works. This little wreath, and it can go on the wall or it can be flat with a big fat candle. Felt squares, and this is just, I think I'll show you. You see, that's just a big donut, just simply a slice of styrofoam with a hole cut in the center. And that's what these are, too, except the hole is a little smaller. Or if you want more of a curved shape to it, just simply slice off the top of a large styrofoam ball. And here is a foam donut. This, too, is felt again. And these are just the red cotton fabric. So it's a wonderful project to just experiment with. Go ahead, try it. Well, our Valentine craft happens to be, would you believe, hearts. We have hearts for the refrigerator, for the cake, for the flowers, for most any place you want to put them. And here's what you'll need to make them. Egg carton tops or foam meat trays, fabric, and a sharp knife. You might also want magnetic strips, toothpicks, or long wooden skewers. Well, you may have guessed from the short list of materials and equipment you'll need that these are really very easy. They are, and they're not just for Valentine's Day, of course, because hearts now are very popular any time of the year. We're making ours for Valentine's Day. And we're going to start right out with our foam trays that are good for so many things besides holding pork chops. Doesn't make any difference what color they are. And we're going to do, as we often do, use the scissors to cut off the sides and then do the rest of our cutting, now here, with an X-Acto knife. Get yourself, you know, just a flat piece like this. Now, this is the size heart I've decided to do right now, but you can make them any size you want. So put your heart down on the tray and then draw around it. You just want the pattern. Use marking pen as we did here, ballpoint pen, whatever. But to cut this out, not the scissors, because it squishes the foam. And for this particular project, you want the foam to stay just as high as possibly you can have it. So with a sharp bladed knife, and don't forget to work on some sort of a cutting board. Of course, you can work on paper or cardboard, I mean stacks of paper, but the more paper, the quicker you're going to dull that blade. So if you have any kind of a cutting board, do use that to work on. Anyway, this is the way you go around, up and down and up and down. Once in a while, you dare take a chance and pull your knife through it, but we really want these edges to be absolutely perpendicular. So do it this way, even if you have to go around a couple of times. You don't have to watch me continue doing that. We have a heart already cut out. I'll place it on our fabric. In this case, of course, it would be red or red and white, something for Valentine's Day. Trace around it so that it's a good 1/4 inch beyond and cut it out. We're going to place it underneath the fabric. Cut a slash right at the bottom of the heart. Cut a slash at the top. Now, you're not going to believe what the next step is. Put this down a minute. Take our knife, and yes, you can. You can go in there and split this, not going to cut all the way through, in about a 1/4 inch with our knife blade. If you have a skinny paring knife, you can even do it, skinny and sharp, I should say. You can even do it with that. Anyway, you do this all the way around. And back here, there's no gluing involved in this one. Now we start around, and you simply push that fabric. Isn't that ridiculous? Yeah, no glue. It works. Wait till you see some of these we've done. I've done Christmas ornaments this way, too. Now, oh, incidentally, please notice that I do the cutting with the sharp edge of the knife, and I do the pushing in with the back side of it. Now, when you come around to the curved edges, you might find that it's easier, and it frequently is, to slash this fabric, to push it in. It isn't always necessary. It depends on the fabric itself and how thick your foam is. But you might want to take little slashes. And if by any chance you find that you're having a hard time getting it in there, cut it a little narrower, a little shorter, like this. Okay? And then go back to doing it. Let's pick one up that we not only have totally covered with the fabric, front and back, but now we're putting some little eyelet edging in it. And again, no gluing. It's all going to stay right in place. The first time you do this, you'll think, what is this insanity? And then you get going on it, and really, it's fun. It really is. Let me show you some of the hearts that we've completed. Here's a little one put on a toothpick. Make a bunch of those, and wouldn't they be nice in a Valentine's cake? Here's one that we put on a long wooden skewer that can go in with a bouquet of flowers. And look, that's exactly what we've done over here. In fact, we've written our Valentine message on there with vegetable soup letters, just a little glue. And we put white rickrack in this time all the way around, or you can glue white rickrack around the edges. Or down here, we have our little refrigerator magnets. And for those of you who have been crafting a while, you're very familiar with this peel-off magnetic tape that you can buy in your craft stores. And occasionally, you can even find it in the hardware store, if it's the right kind of hardware store. Anyway, you peel this off. It's got a sticky back. Put it on the back. And these are all our little magnets. Good for all year round to say, I love you. Okay, this time we have wonderfully, colorfully decorated Easter baskets, beautifully decorated Easter eggs, some ridiculous and silly little bunnies. Would you care to guess what holiday we're crafting our way through this time? Well, I'm going to give you a list of the things you're going to need for these projects. For the eggs, you'll need eggs, masking tape, cutting board, scissors, a razor-bladed craft knife, food coloring, hot water and vinegar, and bowls to put the eggs in when you dye them. For the bunny napkin rings, you'll need 1 1/4 by a 12-inch strip of construction paper, and then another little piece of construction paper, 1 by 2 inches. Pen or pencil, tape or a stapler, a puff of cotton for the tail, glue to put the ears on. Decorating the Easter eggs and making the baskets to put them in has become such an event at our place. It's one of those things I look forward to every year, just like Christmas. Our Easter baskets that we've been making for the last, 4 or 5 years now actually started with this little basket that I saw in a party store for 50 cents. I thought it was awfully cute, and I thought it was awfully expensive and ridiculous. So I took it home, gave it a quick look, thought, oh, for heaven's sakes. And it brought back memories with a few little changes. Do you remember when you were in school taking a piece of construction paper, a square, folding it in half, and then in half again, opening it up, folding it in half, and then in half again, opening it up, and then, of course, we had 16 squares, cutting off 1 row of squares. Thing is, we only wanted 9, but it was much easier to fold the paper in half and half again than to try and figure out how to fold it in thirds, which is what it would be, of course. Then cutting down to the center on the folds and on 2 sides. Okay, you're remembering this now, aren't you? Oh, of course you are. Then we'd bring the sides up like this and made a little basket we'd put a handle on that was pretty ugly, but we made it. This is the same thing with only 2 minor changes. The corners are curved, and they're only brought up this far. Let me show you. I mean, I did it with construction paper, and then I thought for ladies' luncheons, it'd be really cute for little nut cups, and these were made from index cards. And then, of course, I realized that what they really were supposed to be was Easter baskets. And colorful poster board. From 1 big sheet of poster board, you can make 2 nice-sized baskets, and that's what we use. These are 4-inch squares. And I did, of course, just get out the yardstick and measure them off. This part's boring, but once you do it, you can, make dots and make your pattern over and over again. So here are our 9 4-inch squares. Mentioned thick, rounding off the corners. Very simple, like so. And then we do exactly, of course, what we did before. When they're cut, we cut down, and I'll take this one where we've actually cut and mark it with red, just in case there's any question on that. Now, this is the part, once I would get them measured and drawn, kids would cut them out, or kids do cut them out, actually. And they're getting big enough now that I get to let the older boys score. It's always easier, if on any folded line with any heavy cardboard, you score. In other words, you take a razor-bladed craft knife and cut into it. Not enough to cut through, but enough so that it breaks that outer layer, and when you fold, you're going to get a nice, crisp fold. This step, if you're working with small children, is not essential. All right, we've got our cuts. Then it goes like this and like this. And usually I told you that you needed a paper punch. Well, yes, because we punched holes in there. But you can, as you see, staple it as well. Now, another long strip like this of the poster board, and that's what we use, of course, for the handles. Now, another thing the kids like to do each year before folding them up like this is to use magic markers or crayons or whatever and color them, put their names on them, do all sorts of wonderful personalized things. And once in a while I get lucky, and they leave them at the house, and the next year we don't have to make new ones. But it is kind of a fun, and it is a family event. And let's take a look at some of the baskets that we have here. Got a little carried away. The kids usually just use marking pens, but here we've decorated these with lace around the handle, around the basket, one even covered with fabric. So you can actually use something like this just as your Easter decoration around the house. as well as the Easter basket to fill with wonderful candy and goodies for the Easter basket, or Easter bunny to deliver. Speaking of Easter bunnies, we have one coming up. I know I digress, but I have to show you this. Same basket, covered with red contact, gold bows and decorations. Make it this size or a little bigger. What a pretty basket to either fill with Christmas ornaments or to put your Christmas cards in. Okay, back to Easter. Taped eggs. Every year we decorate eggs and think, how can we do something different? How can we do something different? Well, a few years ago, I came up with an idea that, incidentally, I've since seen on the cover of magazines, and I thought it was so clever. At the time, I thought, kids will like this, but they're only going to be able to participate in part of it because it's too difficult. Boy, was I wrong. They participated in all of it, and they loved it. Except maybe the first couple of years, I had to do the cutting. On a cutting board, and you can, if you have a wooden cutting board, fine. You put a bunch of strips of masking tape. Then, again, with our craft knife, I've already cut this. Cut strips. You can't see these, I know, but you can see my hand going in a reasonably straight line, or curvy lines, or any shapes you want. Now, you'll see, I started to pull some of them off so you can see what shapes are left, like this. Then you take your hard-boiled egg, either the white egg or one that's already been colored a pastel color, and wrap them around with the masking tape. Just be sure that you really get it down there quite smoothly. These have become, we've become quite addicted to these. And not only do I do this with the grandkids, but my son, daughter-in-law, brother, the whole doggone family. I mean, if anybody had looked in, we'd think we were all a bunch of 10-year-olds. Okay, keep, you know, putting on the tape, then dye it. And I just use the food coloring and, you know, the hot water and vinegar, the recipe's right on the package of every bit of food coloring. Let it go as light or as dark as you want. And sometimes this is supposed to, oh, I like that pastel. But I'm not going to do anything with that now because I'd have red hands for the rest of the show. I'll show you some that I have already done. Over here. You see, all right, this egg was dyed yellow first. Then the tape was put on. Then it was dyed green. And then the tape was pulled off. The great thing is you never know what's going to happen. Geometric shapes. And sometimes the colors bleed in. And that's kind of nice, too. And you never know when you dip them in one color and then another color, what you're going to get. Some of them are gorgeous. And if you'd like to have more than just one color, what you do is you start out, now here's our yellow one, and we put tape on it. Then you put that one into the red dye. When you take it out, it's orange. Then you put more tape on, put it into another deeper dye, take it out, and then you peel it and wonder what you've got underneath there. Sometimes it's quite wonderful. You can do this with 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 colors. Just be sure that you remember always to do the lightest colors first and work to the darker ones. If you want an orange, you don't have to make an orange dye. Just take a yellow egg and put it just very briefly in a red dye. But do let me tell you, don't ever put your eggs away to keep in a plastic egg carton because it sweats after a while and all the colors will run and it will be really quite miserable and that's going to be quite gorgeous. Okay, so much for our egg decorating. I'd like to continue. Let's get on to our cute little Easter rabbits. I had a lot of fun with these, with the kids, and I really think that the original idea came from a very clever school teacher. A lot of grade school teachers come up with, I think, just terrific ideas. And then, when I taught my grandkids how to make it, I had to go back and teach the whole nursery school. This was a few years ago, how to do these. They loved them. So this is something that the 3-year-olds and the 4-year-olds can become involved in. However, we also have an adult version, too. The basic idea is just a strip of construction paper, cut, about an inch, maybe a little over an inch wide. I bet some of you have seen this idea. All right. Then you whip it around like this, making a circle at one end. Take the other end and bring it forward like this and staple it. One staple should do it, but 2 is safer. Now, Okay. We're going to draw a couple of eyes. That's what those are. Whiskers. And the only two things that we still need are the ears and the tail. And the tail, of course, can be just a little cotton ball. And the ears be just more construction paper. When my grandkids were making these when they were very small, there, they would get glued on like this. They made them all, fat and skinny and the most ridiculous shapes, and they'd line them all up and blow them across the floor and have rabbit races. But here's a way if you want to make them so that you can actually put them on your holiday table and turn them into egg holders or napkin rings. If you can still use the construction paper, but if you will back it with clear contact paper, that gives it a lot of body, makes it a lot stronger, and you can, monkey around with it without having the paper tear. This little rabbit that we have here, and you can see a much, much fancier face on him, can be a napkin ring. We've even put a pom-pom on there and some real little whiskers. And this, of course, is where the napkin can go. On the other hand, if you want to get even fancier than that, put him back in his grass, you can cover the cardboard strip with fabric on both sides. White glue thin with water and apply the fabric to both sides of like a poster board strip. And then do the very same thing. You can even put the googly eyes on them if you'd like. And then, of course, cut the paws out. And here's where the napkins or the eggs would go then on your table. So you see, we can go on and do simply wonderful versions, sophisticated versions of the little Easter bunny that the 3-year-olds can do. I hope you have just as much fun celebrating Easter and making all our Easter crafts at your house as we have at ours. It's 3 different holidays that we're decorating for with our embroidery hoop wreaths. We start with Halloween, go to Thanksgiving, and then Christmas. And this is what you'll need to make them. For our Halloween wreath, you'll need a 12-inch embroidery hoop, black marking pen, cotton balls or polyfill, orange construction paper, white fabric, string, and scissors. You might also want to add clear contact paper and some pieces of Velcro. For our Thanksgiving and Christmas wreaths, you can use the same 12-inch embroidery hoop. Plus, you'll need heavyweight construction paper in white, black, dark blue, brown, yellow. Acrylic paint, flesh-colored, black, and brown. 2 9x12 pieces of orange felt, some white glue and scissors, 3 2-inch styrofoam balls, a sharp paring knife or an X-Acto knife, some gold cord, and miscellaneous trim. For each figure that you make, you'll need 1 tongue depressor and 1 craft stick. I don't really know what's happened the last few years, but it seems, at least going through the craft stores and the department stores and the gift shops, that Halloween is becoming as big a holiday as Valentine's Day or Easter, as far as decorating is concerned. And I never would have thought of making a wreath for Halloween had I not seen one on the picture of one on a magazine. So we have a Halloween wreath. I made mine on 12-inch embroidery hoop. And if you'd like, you can just put all the figures on with pieces of Velcro so that you can take them off and use the same embroidery hoop for all the different seasons. We've only gone on to Thanksgiving and Christmas, but you might take it the year round. Now, for our little Halloween wreath, which is really kind of fun, you can do a kid's version or an adult version. In either case, our ghosts are made the same way. It's just merely in the technique. And our pumpkins are made of construction paper. To make our ghosts, you'll need, squares of white fabric, maybe 8 inches. I must admit, I cut up an old sheet. You might want to start afresh. And then some cotton balls or some polyfill. Pull it around. Kids certainly can make these. Tie them with a piece of cord or twine. With a marking pen, make a couple of eyes, and anybody would know that's a ghost. Now, the kids can just draw their pumpkins to their heart's content and put them on, but if you want to be really kind of elegant, draw yourself a nice pumpkin. Don't forget to make it a little flat on the bottom, put a stem on. Make a bunch of them that will be exactly the same by tracing. Cut it out, and with marking pen, good black one, draw the lines, and then put whatever kind of a jack-o'-lantern face in there you would like. Happy, smiling, frowning, whatever. Again, a piece of Velcro on the back, and there they go. If the children are making these, you might want to back the construction paper with some clear contact paper, or any contact paper. It doesn't make any difference. You're not going to see the back. It gives them added strength so that they won't tear as easily. In fact, don't just say that for the kids. You might want to do it for yourself, too. Okay, these can come off, and then on go our pilgrims and our Indians and our other kinds of pumpkins for Thanksgiving. I wouldn't have thought of making a Thanksgiving wreath either if I hadn't seen one in the catalog, priced at $49.95. Now, that was pilgrims and Indians, too. In fact, that's where I got the idea of using pilgrims and Indians. And they had turkeys, we made pumpkins. That one was made of wood. So was ours, except our wood is not brightly painted. We have paper clothes, and our wood is tongue depressors and craft sticks. For each figure, you will need one tongue depressor, actually a half of one. Cut it in half, and you can do that with your ordinary scissors. In fact, if you have kitchen shears, they work best of all. And for the arms, we are going to use the craft sticks. Cut it in thirds. Just measure that out. It's about 1.5 inches. And we're going to use the 2 rounded ends. Color this flesh-colored, color the end of your tongue depressor flesh-colored, and then draw in the little face. And you can just use a marking pen or a felt-tip pen for doing that, paint in the hair. Now, this is almost a complete circle. In fact, you can put a penny on there if you're not much of an artist. Put a penny on there, or a diamond, draw around it. And, of course, the features are just 3 little dots. Draw in the hair, and there you go. Now, take the 2 craft stick ends and show you. You see, they're just glued to the back. They just touch each other, and they're right below the shoulder line. But you say you're not an artist. You don't know how you're going to do the clothes. Well, this is very simple. Cut a 4.5-inch circle, which is what I have here. Fold it in half. Now, we're going to find the center point here along the fold. And for our little lady, we'll draw the little neckline right like that. For our little lady, come in and out. Her sleeves and her skirt. You'll see when we see the finished one. Now, for the gentleman, well, it's really just about the same. Center point, come in like this, and go out. Come in. Go out, except, look what we're going to do. Halfway down, go like this, and then out. In, and then out. See, those are his trousers. This is his jacket. Maybe if I color that out. Indian is made exactly the same way, and when you see the finished one, I'll show you, details. Really, you can do it, same thing. When we get finally around to our little angel, she's made like the little lady. In and out, in and out, except we're going to make her sleeves a little wider. That's all. You'll see that, too. Well, back to our pilgrims. Okay. Now, of course, it's the little extras on their outfits that make them recognizable. The ladies in navy blue, the gentlemen's in black, and our Indian is dressed in brown. We put a little apron on our lady, her little shoes, her little collar, and this, of course, is cut along the fold of the white paper. Now, here's the gentleman's collar, the same. Well, let's go over to our little figures here. Incidentally, I have these because you don't have to put these in a wreath, You might just want to make a little table decoration. These fellows are on toothpicks, so we have them stuck into a foam base, and you can do that, too. All right, let's take a look. You know he's a pilgrim because he not only has a big white collar, but he has a big hat. This is cut on the fold with a white buckle. Don't worry about silver. And a little band of brown construction paper. The same down here, big buckle. His bow is embroidery floss. Could be yarn, could be string. Here's our little lady. I tried different materials. This happens to be a felt apron. I think I like the paper the best of all. And here's our Indian. I did go a little crazy here because to make his fringe on this one, I took a narrow length of fabric, cotton fabric, and fringed it. It looks cute, but it's crazy. You can do the same thing, really, with construction paper. A few little seed beads, and, of course, if you give him a feather, then everybody knows he's an Indian. By the way, while we're here, I want you to see this. See that little pilgrim? Not so wonderful. Very tiny. $1. $1. Can you imagine what a wreath would be making? No. Let's go look at our wreath. We have one thing up here we haven't showed you. We have our pumpkins. So let's see our pumpkins. They're quite different from the ones that we had on our Halloween wreath. These are made of styrofoam balls, and you start with one. One ball will make 2 pumpkins because that's what we're using the half one. All right, you cut it in half, and you can just use a sharp knife for that, and then flatten it, either before or after cutting. You want to flatten it with your fingers like this. Then with a pen, well, you don't have to use a pen, but it might help you to see it. Draw the indentations, and you can draw 2 or you can draw 3. Divide it. Here's one that you can see a little better and that I drew a little more carefully. Then you're going to take either a sharp paring knife or a craft knife and cut into this. Kind of go back and forth like that, make those indentations. Now we're going to cover it with orange felt. You can either take a piece of felt and kind of press it in there with your fingers, get the indentations, and then cut around it. Or you can just sort of look at that and go by guess and by gosh, and you'll come pretty close. You want it to be, about 1/4 of an inch larger than each section. And then we're going to, with the dull side of the knife, push the edge into the foam. It'll take a little while to do this, and if you haven't done that before, to get the hang of it. But all of a sudden, you realize that this kind of messy-looking thing is turning into, look, a real honest-to-goodness looking pumpkin. Now, this end piece on each side can then be pushed into the back, or you might want to put pins there. Glue might or might not hold it, but I find this is just as easy as anything, just doing it this way. Then you want to put a little stem on there on the top. You can just use a little piece of green chenille stem, or take a little piece of chenille stem and wrap it in either brown or green floral tape, and it goes up here. Okay, now let's get a real close look. We've put Velcro, of course, on the back bars, so they all stick up there nicely. And here we have our Indians, our lady pilgrims, our gentlemen pilgrims, and our pumpkins. And it's all very Thanksgiving. And that can stay up until it's time for the Christmas wreath. And the Christmas wreath is the same basic idea as we told you and showed you. But at this time, of course, we've made angels and used our white construction paper. We showed you the pattern for her dress. Now, the one thing that this little lady has, of course, that the others don't have, is a pair of wings. But again, we've just cut a circle. This time, instead of a 4.5-inch circle, we've used a 4-inch circle. We want them just a little bit smaller. And then fold it in half and in half again. Cut from the fold, from the center fold out at an angle. You only need, of course, one of these for your pattern for your wings. That's it. Goes right in place on her back, and she's ready to fly away. Now we've added a halo to her. This little kid looks like she got somebody's results. She was flying behind a jet plane, I guess. At any rate, a circle of yellow construction paper glued to the back of her head, her wings, and just a tiny little bit of gold cording for them to all sort of join together. You could have angels all the way around, same as we did with our other wreaths, but I just thought a little relief was kind of nice, and only one queen angel at the bottom. So that's it, from Halloween to Thanksgiving to Christmas, and maybe you'll take it, you know, on Beyond Zebra. Well, continuing on around our holiday calendar, from Easter back to Halloween and on to Thanksgiving and Christmas again. Would you believe that all of these cute creatures were made from Renewsit adjustable air freshener containers? Cindy Groom Harry is the talented lady that made all of these, and we're going to have an address at the end of the tape that'll show you where you can write in for printed direction for these cute guys. But Cindy's here in the studio with us, and she's going to give a step-by-step demonstration on how to make this cute holiday bear. And here are the materials you'll need to make him. 1 Renewsit adjustable air freshener, 2.5-inch foam ball, black, beige, and green acrylic paint, small and medium paint brushes, fine sandpaper, an 8 by 10-inch piece of red felt, 7 by 8-inch piece of brown felt, and green felt scraps. Also a 28-inch length of white junior loopy chenille, some fiberfill, 2 1.5 and 2 3/4-inch beige pom-poms, 1 1/4-inch black pom-pom, 1 3/4-inch white pom-pom, 3-inch length of chenille stem, 4-inch lengths of white and red slim chenille stems, a 10-inch length of 1/4-inch wide red satin ribbon, a silver paper for making a belt buckle, 4 1/8-inch doll buttons, needle and red thread, 3 red seed beads, 3 to 5 assorted miniature toys, serrated knife, scissors, hot glue gun or thick craft glue, pencil and paper, and a paper towel. Cindy, you have more than outdone yourself with your holiday goblins and bunnies and turkeys and everything. And I think this little holiday bear is just the cutest thing. I think everybody's anxious to learn how to make this one.
Well, it's easy to get carried away with these, Carol.
I can see that.
In order to make our holiday bear, we're going to start with a 2.5-inch foam ball. We'll cut off a 1-inch slice, and then, in order to be able to paint it very easily, I've just inserted a fork up into there. We'll give it 2 coats of acrylic paint in a beige color, and then just stick it into a container so that it can dry. Now, while that's drying, you can prepare the base. And to do that, lightly sand it with a fine sandpaper, and then give it 2 coats of green acrylic paint. And let that dry. By now, the ball should be dry, so we can go ahead and glue that ball onto the topper. Now, in order to make the holiday bear's coat, what we need to do is make a pattern. And to do that, I'm going to just use a scrap of paper toweling, wrap it around so that it fits, because you can't just use a straight piece of fabric on this.
Because it's a cone-shaped
That's
item.
right, and so you have to make your own pattern. And wrap this around like so. Mark it with a pencil along the bottom, along the top, all the way around. Then remove this, open it back up, and fix your pattern. And after you've done that, it should look like so. Tape the pattern to the piece of red felt and cut it out. And this is what you'll get. Now, in order to wrap this around, what we'll do is press it onto here, just like this, around, apply glue here, bottom, top.
Does that overlap at all?
It does. There'll be just a slight overlap, but you don't have to be overly concerned about the bottom or the top, because we're going to then trim it in junior loopy chenille. This is available by the length in your craft stores.
Has the wire in the middle?
And it has a wire filament in it so that it will bend into any shape. Wrap and glue it to the base, and wrap another length around the neck for the trim on the coat.
So it covers a multitude of sins.
That's right. Anything incorrect won't show up. That's right. And this is what that step will look like. Okay, the next step then is to make the sleeve. And we're using a 2-inch by 2.5-inch piece of red felt. To do that, fold in the sides so that this is the 2-inch and this is 2.5. Fold it in and glue it, overlapping again slightly. And you'll get a tube. Then insert fiber fill into there with a pencil, and it will look like this.
You could even just roll up some Kleenex or something.
Sure, just something to give it a little bit of body, yes. Then we have to make a mitten pattern. And you remember how to make those from grade school.
Yeah.
Just go ahead and draw a little mitten, cut it out, and then tape it to a piece of green felt. Fold the green felt in half and cut that out so that you get 2 mittens.
You must have very small scissors with very sharp edges.
Tiny sharp ones help a lot. Then we're going to insert a little bit of glue into the end of the tube and put the mitten into there, like so. And to give it a little finish around the cuff, we'll add a little bit of fiber fill. Excuse me, you could use fiber fill, but this happens to be the same loopy chenille that we used on the rest of the suit. I want to show you how to seal the end so that it looks like a sleeve. Sometimes if you just press this flat, it doesn't look as nice as if you'll put a little bit of glue into the end and then press in the sides and press down the top. And that will look like this. Apply glue and put it on the side, top shoulder, on both sides.
Oh, that does make a difference,
and it does.
doesn't
It really gives it a more finished look. And this is what it will look like.
Cute as it is, I can see that there's a long way between here and here, but we don't have any more steps and we don't have any more table room, so as they say in television, we'll be back in a minute.
To decorate Holiday Bear's suit, we've taken a 1/2-inch by 8-inch length of brown felt. Just wrap it around his waist and glue it overlapping at the back, like so. And you can make a little belt buckle out of a small square jewelry fastening or just out of a scrap of paper. Glue that on. Then, if you'd like to really go to a little extra trouble to make it look cute, you can use a 1/8-inch doll button, as we have here. And if you'd like to, you could stitch a couple of stitches through there to make it look more genuine and decorate with 4 buttons.
Boy, those really are miniature, aren't they?
They are. They're just tiny little doll buttons that you can get in most button stores.
Oh, that's what I was going to ask where you got them. Okay.
And it will look like this. Now, in order to decorate the face, we're using 1.5-inch beige pom-poms to match the paint. Glue them at the top. Use the same color pom-poms, 1/2-inch size, for the jowls. And keep these nice and low for a cute look. Then add a little black pom for the nose. And it'll look like this. But we can't forget the beard. The beard is made out of jumbo loopy chenille, and it's just bent into a gentle curve. It's a 4-inch length and placed like so. Just glue it on. We need to also add some eyes. And if you like to use wiggle eyes, you can use that, or you can go ahead and paint. And I like to show a little hint about painting. If you'll support your hand against the side and paint in this motion, you'll get real fine little eyelashes and also eyebrows.
Now, what about using a marking pen? Could you do that?
You could do that,
I like
too.
the look of the brush. I'm not sure I would trust myself.
Well, the marking pen, and you could also draw it in pencil first if you wish. Next step is to make the hat. And to do that, we have a 4-inch piece of red felt that we've simply cut one of the corners off, and it'll look like this. This becomes the bottom of the hat. Then fold in the sides, apply a little glue in the overlapping areas, and press it to create a cone. It'll look like this. Then, to finish off the bottom of the hat, we use the same junior loopy chenille, an 8-inch length, wrapped around and glued. And it'll look like this. Now we want to decorate the hat too. Remember the hollies from grade school? Well, this is a little holly shape, felt, cut out like so. And you'll have 2 holly shapes, especially if you fold it over and cut 2 at the same time. Then you can decorate with a couple of little seed beads, little red beads or something to look like berries. Glue it onto the hat, bend the point of the hat over, glue a little pom-pom on it, and you have a hat.
That is really cute, Cindy. I love those little hollies with the berries on them.
It's sometimes those little touches that really make the difference. Now, in order to keep its shape, you can insert a little bit of fiber fill up into here, and I'm going to get this bear to show you how to put it on. Apply a little bit of extra glue right along here, put it onto his head, overlapping one of the ears, and let it dry.
Now, I take it there must be a reason why you put 2 ears on in the first place, even though you're going to cover it up, is there?
There is, because the ball, the roundness of the pom-pom seems to hold the shape a little bit better.
Okay, not just you're pushing pom-pom.
No,
okay.
not today.
Okay.
Now, the next thing we want to have is a pack, because a little bear like this wouldn't be complete without his pack of toys. And so in order to make this, this is a 6-inch square of brown felt, and we're going to use the same tube technique, folding over and overlapping about 1/4 inch, applying glue along there, letting it dry. And then this is the fun part. This is so fast, no sew, anybody can do it.
Good.
You can use a bread wrapper, a piece of twister, chenille, bind it around the bottom, turn it inside out. And this is what you'll get. And you've got an instant pack. Stuff it with a little bit of fiber fill, as we have done here. Gather the top, tie it with a little bit of red ribbon. I've even added a couple of jingle bells to the end, and you'll have your pack like this.
Oh, be darned. I really like that idea of not having to gather it and so forth and turn it, too.
It works really well with kids, too, because they can help. Now, in order to attach this, there's a little special secret I want to remind you to do. When you place this in the bear's paws or arms, wrap the arm around it and tack a little bit of glue here and between the suit and the pack, but don't glue the base.
There has got to be a reason. You're going to tell us later, I suppose.
Yes, we will.
Okay.
That'll be our secret. But now, it's, you know, a pack is no fun without toys. So what we have to do is find some little miniature things or toys that you might have in the bottom of the toy box that you can put in the top against the bear and decorate it like we have here. And I've even taken a couple of chenille stems like so in red and white and twisted them together and made candy canes.
And put in his pack.
That's right.
All right, that really is cute.
Now, you ready for the surprise?
Oh, I can hardly.
The surprise is that it's not only wonderful for holiday giving as a gift, as a table decoration, whatever it might be, but it also still can act as a Renews adjustable air freshener.
Oh, and that's why you can only glue to the top
That's
of the
right.
container. Cindy, thank you.
Well,
Your
thank
ideas
you.
are just totally wonderful. We appreciate having you here.
It's been fun. Thanks, Carol.
Okay, that's it. I hope you've enjoyed our holiday crafts, and I hope you'll enjoy them for many holidays to come. And maybe we can get together again sometime.